So today I'm going to talk about a stock that I bought last week. I did buy a few more stocks last week, but I wanted to give this one in particular its own dedicated video because I feel like I've never actually given it its own dedicated video and it probably deserves it. I think the last time that I did buy this stock was over 2 years ago, and I kind of just let it run. I was up over 100% and it's had a massive pullback recently, and I thought it's got to such a good buying opportunity now. I'm going to buy some shares in it, and I thought while doing that I'll also give it its own video. And I've not really talked about too many UK stocks recently on the channel, so I wanted to give a shout out to a UK stock. So we're going to go through this one here today. If you don't want to buy and sell companies in real time though, make sure you join the Patreon. I will also do a big update on the stocks that I did buy last week towards the back end of the week, but that's where you want to be if you want more live updates and 2 exclusive videos a week. And just to let you know, free trade at the moment are currently doing an offer. I think it is till the end of the month that if you join up, you'll get 2 free shares for signing up through free trade, which is definitely worth checking out. So this stock that I've not bought for 2 years, but I did buy for the first time for 2 years last week, was JD Sports. So like I said, I was actually up on this position over 100%, and now I'm pretty much break even. Massive pullback on JD Sports at the moment, and you can see here that the pullback since this point here where the whole market's pulled back, growth stocks, small caps, and now anything's pulled back. I think JD in particular, because of the concerns around the shipping issues with inflation, products or costs increasing. I think the worry that you've seen this creep into a lot of other retailers in the stock space. It's kind of affected JD recently, and it's now sent the stock nearly down, lost half its value within a half a year span, and I think this is a massive overreaction here, so I thought I'm going to buy some shares in it. And you'll see here now, this is kind of like really close to the CV times, and this is why I'm break even. I started buying JD Sports around that kind of May time. And you'll see here that the company is now valued at prices it was back in May 2020. And without doubt, JD might have a little bit of short-term issues, even though it's not really showing too many at the moment. It might be a little bit slower on the revenue growth. It might be affected a little bit on the profit side of it. The numbers still from this company are very good and will continue to be very good. And I think this is a massive overreaction in the share price. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to pick some shares up in this one. Now, JD itself is actually quite a bit of a broad company. It has quite a big moat because it has a lot of brands. As well as having a lot of brands, it's now going international. It's also in a lot of different sectors as well. And as well as having an international company, a lot of brands here, what it did in particular very well in the CV times is this company really didn't get affected. The online sales were absolutely smashing it. So even with the stores closed, it did very well with online sales. And the big thing that the company's doing very well right now is that because it also has stores, what we're seeing a big shift in recently is from a lot of physical stores, online shopping back to the physical stores. So now JD is benefiting from the switch from online again back to the physical stores. So it has a good combination of them all. Like I said, worldwide company and a lot of different brands. And these are some of the brands that they actually own, which you probably wouldn't recognize, which is like Exercise for Less. They do own JD Gyms, which is kind of a new income stream. Obviously JD Sports, Scott's and Size, probably you wouldn't realize that they own these two companies. Go Outdoors, which has a bit of a history. We'll talk about that in a little second. And they do also own Foot Asylum, but this is going through a bit of a questionable patch right now because they're saying that JD Sports, so they acquired them, and then basically it's a bit confusing, it's a bit stupid, but basically when they went through the anti-monopoly competition, they said it was absolutely fine. Then for some reason, I think there was an email that popped up that came to light, and then it went back to seeing the anti-monopoly, and they said that actually if JD Sports have Foot Asylum, they have way too much monopoly on the high street for trainers, and then they're telling them now that they've actually got to sell Foot Asylum again now. It's very, very stupid, but it won't affect the company too much. But so they are going to lose that brand in a little bit. Don't think that's one of the things that affects the share price, because this was way before the share price drop. But that's going to leave the business at some point. But overall, you can see they've got many different brands here, and because they also produce very good amounts of profit, they do go and purchase quite a few companies as well. And in particular, they bought the US-based retailer Finish Line for $558 million in March 2018, and Shoe Palace for $325 million in December 2020. You'll see here that this is when they bought Foot Asylum, but they are going to have to sell them again now. The funny thing is JD Sports is also a very good company and management, because they bought Foot Asylum, turned it around, made it a very good company again. And now that they've turned it around, now they've got to sell it again. It is a bit frustrating, really, but yeah, kind of proves that they are very good at turning some of these businesses around. They did own Go Outdoors, which then did go into administration, which they did then buy back again, which is a bit of a long story, but that seems to be doing quite well again. And it was only on January the 12th, 2022, where this company actually came out, and it actually came out with some really strong numbers and once again upgraded its profit forecast, which obviously with a lot of companies at the moment being downgrading a lot of their profits forecast, JD actually hiked theirs up, which is pretty impressive. And yeah, they basically came in and said sales were very strong over the Christmas period recently, and this is during a period of time where the share price actually started to take a bit of a nosedive. Now, they have recently come out with another trading update, which they did say that growth is around about 5% at the moment, and there is a few issues at the moment. But like I said, we kind of knew this was going to happen, and still with what's going on at the moment, these are still pretty strong numbers coming out from JD Sports. Now, on the last presentation they released, which they haven't done for a while, if you actually dig into the numbers here, you'll actually get a very good breakdown of how this business operates through selling a lot of their clothing products that they have and training products around the world. So if we look at UK and Republic of Ireland, you'll see here that they actually increased these sales. This is from 2017, all the H1s across 2017, 18, 19, 2020 and 2021. You can see the increase slowly in the amount of sales, and obviously a bit of a hit in half one because of the CV situation, but you'll see that the revenue is nicely increasing. Europe's a little bit weaker, or the weaker part of JD Sports at the moment, but the other big growth area is actually North America, which you can see here. The growth in North America is obviously something they were never in 2017, and have really started ramping up the revenue that's coming in from there. They're actually as well reinvesting quite heavily into that area as well, with a lot of distribution centers and stuff like that. You can see here that Asia Pacific doesn't make that much of the growth up at the moment, and is once again not a massive growth area for them. But you'll see here that the particularly strong areas is the UK and North America, and those are the two really big things to kind of keep focusing on and where the growth will come from. And as well as having a lot of this fashion, they also have the outdoor space, which obviously was the go outdoor. You can see here that that is starting to move back in the right direction as well recently, with revenue doubling year over year, and you can see they've actually gone back to from a loss to a profit with that area as well. And also another interesting part of the business is their other businesses, which is actually their JD Gyms. And you can see here that in the last year, their JD Gyms revenue went from 65 million to 107 million. And you can see here this was actually a part of the business that was losing money, and now actually currently makes money, makes profit as well, which is really good. So that's another segment of the business that they have, which is also increasing quite a bit at the moment. And breaking down into the financials of their America side of the business, that is obviously one of the key areas. You can see the Finish Line and JD revenue. You can see the Macy's revenue, Shoe Palace, DTLR, Livestock slash Size, and you can see here that the JD business is growing okay. The Macy's part of the business as well is growing pretty good. Shoe Palace was only obviously recently launched, and DLTR as well. And you can see here Livestock and Size put in massive amounts of growth as well, but still doesn't make a massive amounts of the revenue up at the moment. Now, if you look at the valuation, it does currently trade down at 0.9 sales and 16 times earnings. And if you do look at the valuation from Simple Wall Street, they do currently have that down as 57% undervalued, which is probably correct. I think that this should be a lot higher than where it is right now. And if you do want to sign up to Simple Wall Street, there's a link in the description. If you sign up, you get a 14-day free trial, and on the 5th day they'll actually send you a 30% discount code as well for your yearly subscription. So do go check that one out. I use this platform all the time in the videos. If you look at future growth, you can see how quickly this revenue is ramping up, and I still think it will carry on increasing going forward. You can see here that they do actually have quite decent profit margins. If we do actually go on the past performance here, you can see they do tend to stick around that kind of 3, 4, 5% rates and bringing quite decent amounts of profitability. Financial health wise, it's a pretty strong balance sheet. They have about 14% debt to equity at the moment, and if you do look at the cash balance, they do currently sit on 1.3 billion amount of cash, because it obviously generates 400-500 million profit a year, and that's obviously helped it with a lot of its acquisitions that it's made over the last few years. And it does pay a little bit of a slight dividend. It depends on what's going to go forward, because they did cancel this dividend if they carry on going forward this dividend. So potentially there could be a dividend on this stock, but I won't buy this stock just purely for the dividend. And currently 51% of this company is owned by the Pentland Group at the moment. So overall, my thoughts are with JD Sports is you've got a stock here that's lost half its value. Financially, it's still performing quite well, especially with a lot of the problems that are out there worldwide. And I think it's got very good UK growth, a very good US growth going forward. And yeah, I think the share price is unbelievably unfair on the company to go back down to like May 2020 prices. I think the company is going to still do very well going forward. And yeah, I've bought some shares for the first time in JD Sports for nearly 2 years. So yeah, thought this was a nice little pickup that I've not bought for a while anyway. So a little bit of a video on that one today, guys. Hope you enjoyed it anyway, and catch you in a bit.